Psychedelics, ceremonial magic, and alternative British music bands from the 80s. Mix in some sex magic and you get Topi. Although technically still around, Topi seems to have waned in recent times. Although the tagline says same as the OTO but with chaos magic, I don't really think that's true. Anything to do with chaos magic is via its very nature going to be highly eclectic and focus on pragmatic results. That's not to say that the OTO doesn't do that, but long-form ritual, philosophy, or slow internal transmutations of one's innermost nature are not things I would expect to see the Topi members engage in. I think the reference to the OTO is more a point towards the main idea that underpins Topi's practice. In other words, the doctrine of the true will is present here. So in this system, it is the individual's intention that is the principal mechanism that moves both the internal energies and macrocosmic forces to actualize one's will. In other words, it's manifestation with extra steps. Like all schools that focus on practical results, there is no spiritual evolution really. Occultism here has the danger of becoming a spiritual ATM. Put a practice in, get the object of desire out. But hey, if that's the only satisfaction you want out of spirituality, then go for it. Okay, this one deserves its own video. The OG Ordo Templi Orientis was actually pretty respectable. The personages of Karl Kellner, Franz Hartmann, and Theodor Roos are usually credited with the OTO's creation. That is debated though. Check out Peter Koning's site, Power Religion. Still, basically the founding of this order resulted in a system of 10-degree rituals that are themselves a synthesis of various high Masonic orders, like the Memphis Mizraim, Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite, Rose Croix, Royal Arch, Martinism, and various other knightly orders. Both men and women were admitted, and everything was groovy, until Crowley. Now, as I said before, this deserves its own video. In fact, there are multiple players I haven't even mentioned that deserve entire videos, so I am skipping a lot. Nonetheless, Crowley takes over after Roos dies and converts the OTO into a thelemic institution. The sexual magic practices taught in the 9th degree remained, while new ones were added for higher degrees, that now stretch to an 11th and 12th degree. To give you an idea of what kind of practices these are, let me merely point to the mind that created them by using a reading of a verse of one of Crowley's poems entitled Leah Sublime.
Sprawl on me, sit on my mouth, Leah, shit. Shit on me, slut. Creamy the curds that drip from your gut, greasy the turds, dribble your dung on the tip of my tongue.
Now it should be noted that many schisms of the OTO exist. If you look hard, you can actually find pre-Crowley OTO groups still in operation. They're just very rare. As for the more mainline OTO, they're not going to make you do anything weird in the lower degrees, so go for it. If you're into Hermetic Kabbalah, Western ceremonial magic, and Raja Yoga, that isn't a bad diet for a beginner. All in all, 6 out of 10.
I don't want to set the world on fire.
So, Discordianism. You know the political theory of anarchism? Anarchism? Well, imagine if that was a religion, where you worship the goddess of chaos and discord, Eris. Yep, chaos, multiplicity, and diversity are the good guys, while the bad guys are the forces of order. Apples and oranges aside, how do you base a society or order on a principle of chaos? By encouraging constant schisms, and the forming of new cabals, of course. Since the publication of the Principia Discordia in the mid-1960s, this philosophy or movement has spread into many surprising places. From references in the literature of Robin Anton Wilson, to the obvious compatibility with chaos magic groups, and even the word fnord, a word originally found in the PD being used by the Church of the Subgenius in their recruitment film. So what is Eris-Chan? Well, you know sites like 4chan? Basically that, but for adherents of Discordianism and Polish people, apparently. That's it. It's an online image board that acts as a kind of hub for Discordianism, which if you think about online culture, the two seem to be a match made in heaven. Check it out. Okay, this is a hard one. The Cybernetic Culture Research Unit was an experimental collective of theorists formed in the late 1995 at Warwick University, started by the philosopher Sadie Plant. Think of CRU not exactly as a group, but as an intellectual lineage, whose authors are not connected by time or space, but by ideas. The CRU writings, which are obscure and esoteric in the truest sense of the word, draw from influences such as Nietzsche, Jung, Burroughs, and Lovecraft. The CCRU essays themselves range from a wide variety of topics such as philosophy, futurism, technoscience, mysticism, numerology, complexity theory, science fiction, and rave culture. Basically, out of the CRU, a whole host of new arcane ideas sprouted forth. My favorites include necromedia, Neo-Lemurian society, Nietzschean shamanism, the outside, time sorcery, Xeno-Buddhism, cybernetic ontology, and of course the political theory accelerationism. Besides Sadie, the other notable members were Mark Fisher, Reza Negarestani, and Nick Land, the outsider in the flesh. Sadie herself left in 1997 to focus on her writing career, which forwarded her ideas on cyber-feminism. Yep, that's a thing. Don't ask me to explain it, I don't really understand. Nowadays, since the original group dissolved and Land moved to China, the various writings provide either inspiration for artists or a type of schizophrenic food for university students and esoteric hipsters. If you want more info, check out channels like Pulsating Void or CJ Carla. The Muslim Brotherhood is an organization founded in Egypt by a scholar named Al-Banna. It started as a pan-Islamic religious and social movement that taught the illiterate to read and helped set up hospitals and businesses in communities. Then, they started doing a little trolling. They even successfully played the political game and got a member elected as president of Egypt in 2012. Nowadays, they're mainly known for being epic gamers. But you may be wondering, where's the esoteric? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So apparently, Al-Banna, the founder, was at one point in his youth a member of a Sufi order. And it's this Sufi order that happens to be the same one Guénon was initiated into. Who is Guénon? For those who don't know, René Guénon was a French philosopher that had a deep interest in mysticism and esotericism. He himself was active in Gnostic, Freemason, and Rosicrucian circles of his day, but finding them empty, he turned to the East. However, unlike most Western LARPers that sit at home, put their hair in a top knot, and call themselves Buddhists after meditating once, Guénon, to his credit, took his path seriously. He emigrated to Egypt, learnt the local language and dialect, was initiated into a Sufi order, and was eventually accepted by the locals as one of their own and a respected mystic of the community. To this day, many Muslims still study his works, seeing him as an important Islamic figure. For a systematic and rigorous breakdown of Guénon's magnum opus, check out the channel Saeed Nizamuddin Ahmad for more. Remember the Order of Nine Angles? Yeah, this is basically the same, but they're also vampires this time. Satanic Nancy vampires. So, all Magian religion's bad. You must become a new being. Okay, cool. That new being is known as the Übermensch. Oh look, Nietzsche again. Something something, dark gods, something something, infiltration. Seriously, these guys are just edgelords again. I tried reading their manifesto, but I died of cringe. R.I.P. Chabad Lubavitch. Lubavitch is an Orthodox Hasidic dynasty and is one of the largest Jewish religious groups in the world. The name Chabad comes from a mix of the higher three Sephiroth on the Tree of Life, i.e. Chokmah, Binah, and Da'at, meaning wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. Seems kind of Gnostic. But as such, the main philosophy of the organization is derived from the Kabbalistic tradition, specifically Lurianic Kabbalah. Their aim seems to be very similar to the Jesuits, that is, the bringing about of the kingdom of heaven on earth, or making the earth fit for God. It is the condensing of spirit into matter, not a refining of matter into spirit. So they're anti-Gnostics in that sense. They're not trying to escape matter, they're trying to make matter divine, so that perhaps a paradise can arise on earth and everyone becomes immortal and there is no need for governments because God rules us all. Don't know why this is in the left-hand path section. Maybe it's because there's Kabbalah present or something, but it doesn't seem like the doctrine is practiced deeply by the majority of followers. It just seems like everyone follows a code of ethics and participates in group rites. Who knows what happens behind the closed doors, but in the end, other than this, it's just the usual conspiracy theories laid on top of them, so there's really not much to say without going full schizo mode. Let's just move on. Here we got the Temple of Set and a Michael Aquino Wojak to boot. First things first though, Temple of Set started off as an offshoot to Anton LaVey's Satanic Temple. Basically the guys that hated the philosophical materialism of LaVey and wanted to work with demons for real broke off to form the TOS. The founder, Michael Aquino, a man who has attracted many conspiracy theories, like a magnet, is a lieutenant colonel in the US military. He worked in the field of psychological operations. That's right, he literally helped develop psyops for the military. This is where the phrase Col-Intel Pro Masterminds comes in. Basically, Col-Intel Pro means Counterintelligence Program, and is usually a reference to such programs that took place between 1956 and 1971. Keep this in mind, where the FBI engaged in domestic psychological warfare by infiltrating feminist organizations, the US Communist Party, anti-Vietnam War organizations, as well as civil rights groups, Black Power movements, etc., etc. Seeing as the TOS was founded in 1975 and Aquino was 10 years old in 1956, it seems the meme wants to make him be more involved than reality would allow. Next, the phrase, "behind the finders," is a reference to an actual real-world human traffic cult that called themselves the Finders, which had strange links to the CIA. The channel Blame It on Jorge had an awesome video on that if you want to check it out. But back to the TOS. The temple itself teaches that the true self, or essence, is immortal, and something called Zephyr, or Zephyr, is the ability to align consciousness with this essence. In the Temple of Set's cosmology, it is taught that there is an afterlife for only those who have reached the necessary level of individual development. Those unable to reach this level dissolve into non-existence when the physical body dies. So self-initiation, therefore, is knowledge understood as an alchemical conjunction of the intellect with intuition. From this brief description, it makes them sound like a solid form of Luciferic Gnosticism. That is, not a Gnosticism that focuses on demiurgs and dualism, but a Gnosticism that views redemption, or in this case, the teleos or purpose of life, as a gaining of knowledge through the extension of consciousness. Very impressive. And when packaged alongside the theme of surviving annihilation through immortalizing one's own psychic potential through conscious work, as shown by the concept of the Zephyr or whatever, it doesn't actually seem that bad. I was expecting cringe and edginess, and while I guess by the nature of this being left-hand path the cringe and edge are present, there genuinely seems to be some substance underneath. Dragon Rouge is probably still better though.
Then you'll see that it's real. If you look at the stars, then you know you're a starshine. Once you have seen it, you'll always believe in the stars. On their life, you were born as a starshine.
Basically, imagine if an offshoot of a UFO society got into a QAnon cult and became obsessed with channeling. Which prompts us now to get into why you shouldn't listen to channelers. First of all, cringe. Second, when you look at channeling historically, the beings that spoke to human channels came in one of two varieties. Either as ancient American sages with feathered crowns, or as turban-wearing sages who lived secretly in the East. The problem? In the mid to early 1900s, there was a dramatic shift overnight. Worldwide, channelers started receiving messages from space travelers galore, Pleiadians, Arcturians, etc. You name it, they came. But something is amiss. What happened to all those ancient sages with feathered crowns and turbans? Nobody, and I mean nobody, seems to channel them anymore. Where did they go? What I'm trying to get at is, there is actually something real that speaks to channelers, and it guises itself with different masks during different epochs. At one point, it'll talk to humans as ancient shamans and wise yogic sages, at other points as blonde-haired space travelers. This thing is neither. It is an astral entity that plays at being a trickster. Not an angel, not even technically a demon. The trickster is probably the best name for it. Now, it's possible that some channeled literature can be legit. It's just that the number is way lower than you think. 99% of all literature produced via channelers, whether the entity contacted be an Egyptian god or an ascended master, is all trash. This is a hard truth for people who, in essence, are completely mediocre, but seem to have some innate sensitivity that allows them to be channels. If they actually applied themselves to a real spiritual tradition, they perhaps could make something of themselves. Alas, being contacted by Saint Germain or Jesus Christ or even God himself is far better than being just like everyone else. Now, Ashtar Command. The thing about de-radicalizing boomers comes from alien contactees claiming that the beings who abducted them come with love and peace and blah 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 blah. The aliens won't let humanity into the Galactic Federation or some crap until they disarm all their nuclear weapons. Besides the many people wearing tinted hippie glasses, taking the aliens at their word, others have noted that disarming all the nuclear weapons in the world would make humanity prime targets for invasion. Yeah, I know, it sounds pretty schizo, probably nothing. Look, if you want to have a laugh, just type in Ashtar Galactic Command into YouTube, strap in your starseed, and prepare to have your DNA unlocked.